Okay, let's get started.
Ghosts are real. That much I know.
Hey horror freaks, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda. If this is the first time here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you can get a notification every single time that I post a video, and I post every single week. As you can see from the title, today's video is going to be my full review with spoilers of Wrong Turn of 2003. Now this is one of my favorite horror movies ever because although it may not be the best horror movie out there, at least for many, that is not my opinion, it still has so memories attached that it has a special place in my heart and the whole franchise. Now, as always, on my reviews are with spoilers. This is not a spoiler-free review. I will not be doing any type of spoiler-free review, so I am very sorry. But saying all that, let's get into the video. Now, Wrong Turn follows Chris and a group of 5 friends that are left stranded deep in the middle of the woods after the car collide. As they venture deeper into the woods, they face an uncertain and blood-curdling fate. To give a brief summary of the story, the film opens with some college students that they are hiking when suddenly they are both killed. They are both killed off screen. We see the bodies, we can hear them screaming, but we never see the killer. So until this point, we know that something is out there, specifically on the West Virginia mountains, but we have no idea what can be. Then the film is going to jump to the protagonist of the story, that is Chris Flynn. He is a medical student, and when he is on the highway, he gets completely stuck and he needs to get to a business meeting. So he decides to turn around and use a different route to get to his final destination. But when he is on the road, he realizes that we have going to the right and going to the left. And one of them is actually shorter, and it's between the mountains in West Virginia. Now he decides to go by the shortest route, but this is his first mistake, taking the wrong turn. This is something that I truly like about the film is the title, because it's completely accurate. Now continue to his bad luck. He collides with another car that is in the middle of the road because the tires has been basically slashed by some wire that was in the middle of the road. So now we have a group of 5 friends and Chris on the middle of nowhere in these mountains, and they have of course no phone service and no one to help them. Group decides that they want to keep walking to see if they can find someone, and they leave 2 behind. These 2 that are a couple are also killed by this unknown killer, but this time we actually see them being killed. It's very gory, and it kind of sets the tone for what it's coming. The other part of the group, they are still walking. We learn something about the characters along the way, and they eventually get into this house. This house is in the middle of nowhere, and they get into it, but this house is honestly so bad in terms of the hygiene, and also what is on the fridge are human body parts, and also on the bathtub. This is when they realize that whatever is living there likes to eat humans. But this is when things get even worse for the group. The people that lives on the house, because there's more than one, there are actually 3 brothers, they arrive to the house with the bodies of their friends, and they witness the process of them of eating. They try to escape when the 3 of them finally get to sleep, but of course they aren't sneaky enough, and this is when the chase kind of starts, and one by one they're going to be killed by these 3 brothers that are cannibals and also have some type of deformity, so they aren't like normal people. So that adds up to the horror in the story, leaving us with the last survivors that are the protagonist, that is Chris, and the female protagonist, that is Jessie. They had one last fight with these 3 brothers, but they are killed and burned into the house. And the film basically ends with them leaving the woods and alive, thankfully, but one of the rangers of the mountains, since it's a national forest, arrives to the house because of the fire. And one of the brothers actually survives, and he gets killed. And that's how the film ends. It's very quickly, the film, I think, is like 1 hour and 30 minutes, and it's very simple. Now, into the things that I really like the gore of the film. Like, of course, it's a film about cannibalism, so the gore has to be a lot and has to be graphic. That's something that is expected. And for being a 2003 film, I think that they did pretty good. So that's something that I do really like, how graphic and realistic it feels. I think also the killings are very creative. Like for example, one of the girls, she gets killed by some wires. One of the brothers goes from behind and like right here, oof, perfect. Another thing that I do really like is the story, because personally, I am someone that truly believes that something is definitely out there in the national forest in the United States. There's so many cases of people going missing, and this is something that actually happens. So adds to the realism of the story. And also the fact that so many things happen and we don't know what it is. It's very easy to get creative with what could happen. And the fact that this is a situation that can actually happen, I mean, who knows what the hell is out there in the woods, but this is something that could happen, right? And also taking a wrong turn can get you killed. But as a side effect of this, actually, I developed when I was little some type of anxiety and fear to isolated roads, something that is very common here in Puerto Rico. Very common, going into the middle of the mountains, having no phones, like by hours, and maybe you won't find maybe one or two cars. Let me tell you that it's awful. But now I am over it. But when I was little, it was awful. Like seriously, it's awful. So this is something that I actually developed from this film. Like I can watch the film, but definitely because of it, I developed some type of anxiety and fear to isolated roads. But I mean, you can't blame me because they are awful. And like I said, I live in a place that you could be saying, but shouldn't be the opposite. Like you're used to it. Kinda. But at the same time, in my mind, it's like so many things can happen that, like for example, I am someone that I will never be in a national forest in the US. Maybe Yellowstone, maybe I want to say hi to Jogi and Boo Boo, but for the rest, hell no. On West Virginia, even less. Hell no, I will never do that. Now, like I said, this film, it's a film that not many people like, and I can get why, since the acting is very basic, almost like mid. Like honestly, it's not the best out there. Like they did what they could. The film itself, like, is not that impressive, but I definitely believe that to a certain extent is the type of film that is so bad that is good. And actually the franchise, in my opinion, the second one is the best one. Like, objectively speaking, the second one is the best one. And the opening scene, so good. But I prefer the first one just for the memories that are attached to it. For the rest, I haven't watched them that much. I prefer the first one. Like, I have my poster right there. And actually, the first film that I ever reviewed on this channel was the reboot of 2021. So that's another fun fact. But I can admit that the film is not the best out there, but I still like it. This is something that I have said before. Just because a film is bad, that doesn't mean that you cannot like it. Just because a film is good, that doesn't mean that you are obligated to like it, right? Now, this film, being real about it, I think that is at much a 2.5 out of 5 and 6 out of 10. But I loved it. Like, I enjoyed it. I can still watch it as the first time, and I'm going to be so thrilled and so excited. For the rest of the franchise, like I said, the second one is good. The third one, not so much. The fourth one is a prequel. You can live without watching it. And the fifth one, in my opinion, the worst one is the sixth. That one is, I think that one is Last Resort, and I didn't like the reboot. I definitely believe that if you're going to do something that is attached to this franchise, come on, like, they aren't even cannibals on the reboot. Like, that's the biggest part and the center of the franchise, and they aren't cannibals. So come on, like, they fail on the most basic thing. Something that I also really like about this one is the soundtrack. Since the film is in 2003, the soundtrack is very, very good. Actually, this film, the end credits, they have Wish I May by Breaking Benjamin. That is one of my favorite bands. And thanks to this film, I found out about this band, and also because of Pandora. I was hearing Pandora and one of their songs appeared, but I recognized the band. And then I was rewatching the film. I was like, hey, I definitely recognize this voice way more now. And it was indeed Breaking Benjamin. So the soundtrack, it's very good. That's the best part of early 2000s horror films soundtrack. I'm gonna die on the hill. House of Wax soundtrack, honestly, so good. That's one of the best parts of the film. But well, thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below if you've ever watched this film. What do you thought about it? Did you like it? You didn't? Which one is your favorite franchise if you ever watched it? Or if you guys are interested in hearing me talking about the rest of the franchise, because that could happen. I mean, there are 6 of them, because I already talked about the reboot. But for the rest ones, I can talk about them. But well, thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to see you guys on my next video. Bye.
It's real. That much I know.